Alright. So I don't remember changing this, but I must have done. So this track color picker button needs to be associated with the track in some way. And there's not even any interface for doing that anymore. So this pointer is just not being set. One of the things that I did during the big block control refactor is I figured out a neater way of dealing with Godot scenes, especially scenes that are sort of dynamic and added at runtime, like tracks, for example. I'm not going to be able to explain all that stuff because it's so complicated. It's it's like necessarily complicated because the way that GD native works, well, it's not the way that GD native works. It's the way that the Godot scene tree works. It's very nice and it's very cool, but it is it's just like the hoops that you have to jump through to interact with it at the C++ level are slightly insane. And if you just use the GD native binding layer as is, then it's pretty horrible because you're basically attaching scripts to nodes, which could happen at runtime. It could happen like automatically when your program starts up, and these are like your scripts are basically classes which are registered with the Godot object system, like I'm doing here. And they're classes which cannot have constructors, or if they do, they can't have arguments. If you do have a default constructor, if I add a constructor here for this thing, I can never call this constructor explicitly unless I'm dynamically creating this control myself. So if this control is like a subscene of a node that you've set up in the Godot editor, then you can never call this constructor yourself. This is going to be called by Godot. And so Godot doesn't know doesn't know anything about arguments that you put in here. It's just going to call it with no arguments. So you basically can't use it as if it's a normal C++ class. And then you have this init bullshit and there's a register method, blah, 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 all this stuff. Anyway, I figured out a much better way of handling this stuff, like setting things up so that I can actually write classes that have actual constructors. So I'm going to just refactor this class now. So let's go. Basically, yeah, this is what I do. This is what I've been doing during the refactor, is refactoring a bunch of these classes. So I have some macros. This software called Beef. This what is it? I can't. What is? How do I describe this software? It's like text snippet software. Anyway, so I can quickly say scene equal track color picker button. Take this. I'm not going to explain in detail what I'm doing here because it's just going to take too long. But this is this is like the normal GD native sort of entry point. And then I have all this boilerplate to make it work with the way that I want to work, the way that I want it to work. So color picker button. hovered. What am I using that for? Fine. The idea is to like this is when I receive GUI inputs and things and do things which have to interact with the Godot object system. The idea is to get out of this class as soon as possible and forward everything to this actual like real C++ class, where I can actually like reason about things. And I know that if I'm inside this real class, then I have a guarantee that the node that I'm dealing with actually exists at that point and is not null and whatever, and is initialized and exists in the scene tree. I have all these guarantees which you usually don't have if you just use raw GT native stuff. Okay, set color. This stuff. Don't know what I'm using this for. Oh, okay, I don't need that. Color picker, okay. Alright, that's fine. Look. What's this put function? I don't need that, I could just put that in draw. Yeah, the other thing is I can have things like pointer members in the class, and I don't have to like explicitly initialize it to null, like you usually would with a GD native class, because again you don't have control over the construction and destruction usually, or you don't have. You sort of have control, but you can't like reason about the state that things are in very easily. But when I do things the new way, I know if I'm accessing this, it's always going to be set because I'm going to set it in the constructor here. Like it's never going to be null. I mean, it might be invalid because I fuck something up somewhere else and delete the track, which shouldn't actually be possible because this will be, this will be owned by the track control, which is owned by the track. So I basically have a guarantee that this will not be null, where with the old way of doing things, I do not have that guarantee really. Now what is going on here? Colored normal, hovered previous. I don't know, but I'm just gonna copy what I did before. Alright, looks good to me. So that's my new interface for this control. And then all the guts happens in here. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to go, it should be called GUI. Print. I have this thing that handles input events a bit easier. Left unpressed. Do it like this. I don't think I would usually write this stuff like this if I was doing this from scratch. But this is just a refactor, like I don't want to change anything really with the actual logic of the control. Okay. Do I need all of this shit? I know I need that. Let's comment some of this out. Whoops. I can't remember how to comment because I've been trying to get into the habit of using NeoVim for things recently because I finally managed to get the language server stuff actually working. I've tried many times in the past to get that to work. It never fucking did. But then I tried it again a couple of days ago. It magically started working. I don't know why. I didn't do anything differently. So I've been using NeoVim instead, where the keys are a bit different. I want this thing. Don't need this. I go scene invoke. I'm just trying to get out of this script class as soon as possible. Just forwarding things to the real class. So on, what is it called? That's why we have this. Tree. I don't usually do. Oh god, this is really old stuff. I'm not gonna look at that. I'm just gonna. One of the things with refactoring, like, so I came up with this wonderful new way of dealing with Godot scenes, and there's also all sorts of advantages to it, and it's less error prone and stuff, and makes it so that I'm causing less bugs and all that. But one of the problems when you do that is when you're refactoring, everything interacts with everything else, so you're suddenly looking at this other class. I'm like, I want to refactor this class as well, and bring it to the new way of doing things. But I'll try to resist. Require this. This is basically equivalent of if you're working with GDScript, then often you want to like get store a reference to one of the subnodes in the scene at the top of your script in an onReady variable. It's a really common thing to do with GDScript. It's basically what this is doing, but in a type safe way. Okay. What now? Yeah, I need this. Oh yeah, this one, I want to just do this. I'm not going to look at this code. I'm just going to trust that it's all doing the right thing. Not looking. This should be, anywhere I have this, should be root tree. Not this one. Color use hill. Okay, don't need this shit. Alright. That is refactored. Now I need to actually use this new class, and the compiler should help me. I'm just kicking off a compile, expecting a compiler error, which would tell me exactly. Oh yeah, so I need to change this to do this instead. So this is a very hairy bit of meta programming going on here underneath this open, but essentially this is calling that constructor that we wrote. It's going to call this with the track argument, which will always be valid at this point. Okay. So now we can go track color picker button. So color picker, set color. The name of the script, the GD native script, has changed now. So I'm going to update my CMake thing to generate a new GDNS. And I need to delete the old one and apply it to the actual scene. Should appear here. Ta-da! What's this this group? I'm not even handling that. I don't think I need to. Might check what happens there. I used to handle, when the font changes, I have to go through basically every control in the entire UI and make sure everything resizes itself to accommodate the new font size. And I used to do that by just adding things to this font react group and then handling that signal. Or sending a message to everything in that group and then handling it. But I know I'm not doing that in here because I would have seen it a moment ago when I was editing this class. So I'll just check what happens when the font changes. I don't think I need this. No type is not a member of Godot panel. What have I done wrong here? What have I done wrong? G, no type. Oh. Thank you. Eyes on the ball, please. I wonder why I decided to do things like this. Harvard previous. This is like a very early control, this color picker button. Originally it would have been written in GD script, and then I would have ported it over to C++ in a very like line by line sort of way without changing the logic very much. But it seems to be working. Okay, it doesn't crash anymore. When I change color, it changes color. Let me just check that if I add boom. Okay. While I'm here, check this, yeah. Undo, undo. So if I change the font size, what happens to this button? That looks fine. So I guess at some point I needed to do something specific because I didn't understand the Godot layout system properly yet when I first wrote that control. But then I must have fixed it so that it just automatically expands itself when the header expands. That must be what's going on. Okay, that's fixed. Blah, 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 blah. So fix crash when cover button pressed. Okay,